To make a slip knot, with your yarn, make a circle and then take the working yarn and pop that underneath the circle so you have a line like so. Then take the needle, pop the needle under the yarn, pull on both ends like that. This is your slip knot here, and then if you pull on the end of the yarn that's attached to the ball like that, you'll see that your slip knot moves up and sits underneath the needle, and then you're looking for it to just be able to move up and down your needle like that. To cast on stitches, simply make a circle and pop that on your needle, and you just keep repeating that as many times as required in your pattern. And you want these stitches to be loose enough to move them up and down the needle like that. When you're counting how many stitches you've cast on, always include your slip knot. So in this example, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 cast on stitches. Here's another cast on method to try, which I sometimes use if the loose cast on method is just too loose and your stitches are just not working. This is another different kind of cast on method that you can try. So pop your needle through the slip stitch like this, and then wrap the yarn around the right hand needle. And you will see that a new stitch starts to form just here. Pull that stitch towards you and pop that stitch, that loop, on the left hand needle. And that is you having cast on 1 stitch. And let me show you that one more time. So we put the needle through the stitch like so, and we wrap our yarn around the needle, finding the new stitch underneath. You can see it there. Pull it forward and towards you to create a loop, and pop that new stitch on your left hand needle, and just continue to make as many as needed. And the key here, like the last one, is that you can just move the stitches up and down, and also, like before, when counting your cast on stitches, you do include the slip stitch. This is a swatch where I've knitted every stitch, and I'm going to show you how to knit a stitch. So we put our needle through the first stitch like so, and we pop our yarn around the right hand needle, and you will see that the new stitch has just formed underneath there. Look. So if we pull the right hand needle towards us and we take the stitch off the left hand needle, that's us having completed our first knit stitch. Let me show you again. So we put our needle through, looks a bit like that, and we put our yarn around, and you will see you've got the new stitch just lurking underneath there. Pull the right hand needle towards you to find that stitch, and then pull the actual stitch off the left hand needle like so. We've completed 2 stitches there. And then the next one, we put our needle through like so, yarn around, locating the new stitch which is just hiding underneath there like so, and then we pull this stitch off the left hand needle, and that's the knit stitch. You just keep continuing that stitch for as many as you need. So I'm just going to finish this row, and then I will show you how to start a new row. So I've just got to the end of the row, and I'm going to knit the final stitch, and then we put all of these stitches that we're holding in our right hands into our left hand. There we go, and all we do is continue to knit. So when you're starting a new row, simply take the working yarn that's attached to your ball, and I like to cut it off and leave at least 30 centimetres because you have to weave in these ends. Just think that you're just going to continue knitting with your colour that you've been using. Don't overthink this bit. So put your needle through as if you're going to knit, and just take the yarn, the new colour, make a little loop like that and just pop it through like that. You'll see that it appears where you would normally find the stitch. And then we just pull on all of the ends just to tighten everything up a bit so we don't have our yarn flying everywhere. And then we continue knitting just like we did before. So I'm just finishing my first row in the new colour. This is what it looks like at the front, and then this is what it looks like at the back. And I'm going to keep going for another 3 rows so you can see what it looks like. I've now completed 4 rows in this new colour, and the key to note here is that if you were to add another colour at this stage, then you would want to make sure that in your left hand the colour joins look like this. You wouldn't want to be starting a new row if it was looking like that at the other side, because that would be the wrong side. So always remember when you add a third colour in that you want your knitting to look like this. This needs to be facing you. To count the number of stitches, simply locate one row. So we'll look at this row here, and you just count the stitches across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. To count the number of rows for garter stitch, so each of these, in between my fingers there is 2 rows. So the bottom stitches is 1 row, the top stitches is another row. So you can see quite clearly, identify this on your garter stitch knitting. So to count them from the bottom, you would go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26. That's how you count your stitches and rows. We put our needle through the front, so with knit you would go through the back, and now we're doing purl where we go through the front. And then we take our yarn around the needle like so, and we pull our right hand needle backwards away from us, and there we find the new stitch. And then we pull the stitch on the left hand needle off, and that's 1 purl stitch complete. So let me show you that again. We put our needle through, our right hand needle through the front, put our yarn around the right hand needle like so, and then we pull the right hand needle underneath the left hand needle and away from us. You can see that we've found the new stitch here. When you get to that point and you've got your new stitch on your right hand needle, you pull the existing one off your left hand needle. And we just keep going like this. I'm going to finish this row and then I'm going to show you how to start a new row. So I've just got to the final stitch on this row and I'm just going to complete this purl stitch. Now the purl stitch is normally used in combination with knit stitches, so this piece that I've got here, this piece of fabric in front of me, this has been made by doing knit a row and then purl a row, and we continue doing that, and that makes a stitch called stockinette stitch, which is one that is it's a really widely used stitch in knitting. So I've just completed a row of purl, and now I'm going to do a row of knit, and that will give me the stockinette stitch. And there we go, that's another row completed, and that's the lovely stockinette stitch. When working the stockinette pattern, you will normally introduce a new colour with the right side of the pattern, which is this side. Everybody loves stockinette because of the V-shaped stitches that it makes. So this is the right side of the pattern. You will normally add the new colour with the right side facing you, unless the pattern tells you to do otherwise. So here we go. So we just put our needle through, because we're working stockinette. This is going to be a knit row. And so we put our needle through. And I just like to pull off any looseness here. That's the tail of the old yarn. And then get your new yarn and make a little loop like so. And pop it over the right hand needle. Locate your new stitch, because we're knitting. This is your new stitch here. Locate your new stitch there. And then you can just pull everything tight again here, because we won't weave in the ends until the end of the project. And then we just continue knitting like so. And I'm going to do a few rows so you can see what this looks like. Okay, so let's have a look what it's looking like now. So this is it with the second row completed. I'll just turn that around. And you can see the colour change is nice and neat, and you can see that new stitch there that we've made on our needle. And yeah, that's how you do a colour change with stockinette stitch. To cast off, whether you're using a swatch of stockinette stitches or like I've been making earlier with the garter stitches, it's just the same technique. So let me show you how to work this. So we knit 2 stitches, 1 and 2. 2 stitches knitted, and then you take the stitch furthest away from the tip of the needle and lift it over the second stitch and off the end of the needle like so. So we then knit another one, so you always need to have 2 stitches on the right hand needle like so, and then take over the one furthest away from the tip of the needle over the other stitch and off the end of the needle. And we keep going like this. Now the key is with stockinette, and when you're casting off, is not to do it too tightly, because if you look at the bottom of your work, you can see that you've got a nice springy edge. And this is really important because you don't want things too tight, because it can misshape the piece of fabric. So just make sure that you're making full use of your stitches when you're casting off. And what I mean is they shouldn't be tight on your needle. They should be like the rest of your stitches. You should be able to move them up and down, and you're just taking them off so that you've got a nice loose-ish, not too loose, cast off edge. I'll show you what I mean when I've finished. So there we go, that's the final stitch. Now I just pull a big loop with the final stitch just whilst I check it to make sure I'm happy. So you can see that my cast off edge looks like this. You can see that it's nice and loose, and you would know it was too tight if sort of all of this was starting to pucker together. So once you're happy with it, you can just take your scissors and cut a 30cm tail or thereabouts, and just pop the end of the tail through the loop that you've created and just pull on it to remove any slack. There we go. And that is how you cast off. So to weave in the ends with our garter stitch work, simply choose one of the ends, and you might find that if you're using our cheeky chunky yarn that this tail end has become quite weak. So to fix that, simply take it and twist it around, and once you've twisted it around, it'll be as strong as anything. There we go. So once you've done that, then thread a needle. I find these wide-eye needles very helpful. And then all we're going to do is we're going to follow a few of the stitches. So I'm going to follow this one round here. So just take the yarn round there like that. And then I'm going to go up and under this stitch, and I'm following this one here. And then I'm going to follow it round and back down there. And then I'm going to follow it back down here. You can see that it goes through the white stitch here. And you can just keep repeating this until you feel comfortable that the end's secure. I'm going to take mine up and over like that, and then back down the other side. And by working your stitches this way, it's just, well, look, you can hardly see it. I don't think you can see the yarn at all. And once you get to that point, you can just take your scissors and just cut off the end of the yarn, and that's it, all nice and hidden. And you can just keep repeating that on all of the other tails of yarn that need weaving in. To weave in a tail of yarn on stockinette stitch, it's just very similar to garter stitch. So I would tend to work on the back, what I class as the wrong side of the work, to do this. And I'm just gonna, let's weave in this cream one here. So like before, if you're using our cheeky chunky yarn and the tails of the yarn have become a not so strong, all you have to do is twist them a little and pop that end onto a darning needle. Then here we go, let's have a look. So we're going to follow the stitches again, and I'm going to follow this stitch up here like so, and around the top, and up here again, just weaving the yarn in and out with the stitches, going with the flow of it. There we go. We'll just take it down there. Whoop. And let's keep going just up here like so. And I'm happy with that, that's now woven in, and so I will snip off the end. And that's it. We've woven in one of the tails, and you will just continue to do the same, exactly the same with all of the other tails.